Well, it's funny that we talked about being on the phone and stuff and just having great conversation, which I actually enjoy. And we talk about a lot of things. And the one thing that dawned on me this morning is that I was like, I never got a chance to actually live on my own. Is that like, I don't know if you experienced it, but it's something that's dawned on me. And I was like, wait a second. I've always wanted to experience that. Like, this is my apartment, decorated the way I want, have my TV, my gaming system, throw parties, having a good time, being a bachelor. And I'll add to that. I always said, if it's not by myself and if I had a roommate, it would be this guy. Not just saying that,
Yeah.
but I never got that chance. And I will say this because most people from like, let's say 14 years old to 19 years old, that's when you live and you learn a little. You got one foot out the nest. And if you fall really hard, you still got mom and dad to kind of scoop you up just a little bit,
Yeah.
you know? So you live and you learn. And then maybe in your 20, let's say 22 to 30, that's when you kind of, you're out there and you're kind of looking at daddy, mom in the review mirror. If you fall, then you got to pick yourself up. You get in a car, you're old enough to get into like parties. Um, and you might have one or two relationship heartbreaks. You learn from that. And by 32, hopefully, you find something stable, you build together, kids and all that stuff. And I started thinking, I said, I was doing my 22 to 30 at 14 to 19. I'm like, man, I said to myself, maybe that's why I didn't get that chance. And when I did have that chance, I was like, yeah, I went out there.
So
You know,
you were growing, living, and learning during
yeah,
a stage that, I mean, you're always growing, living, and learning, but like the way you broke it down was 14 to 18. You're still understanding who you are, blah blah blah. But not only are you doing that, you're doing some of the things that people that are older, once they're out of the house, kind of thing, they do. Keep snitching on yourself.
no, hey, that's keeping it real because I don't know, it's an experience that I was like, I thought about having, but just never happened. Have you ever thought about that, or I don't know if
Yeah,
you ever lived by on your own?
I bet you that's a question. Anyone you ask, you're gonna get different answers, right? You can ask siblings that stuff because everyone, that's what's great about the individual person is like every person can experience, like we can experience the same thing, but because of the way we think, the way our brains are, and our experiences, and how we interpret things, and how things get filtered through us, and when we witness it, it's different, and how it affects us is different. So like if
Yeah,
every like second that is happening in your life, whether you're with somebody when that happens, you guys are feeling it, interpreting it differently, right? And then even when you like try to explain it, you're going to explain it differently. So it's going to be even more diverse if you're both explaining it to a third person, not to get too complicated with it, right? So I
yeah,
say that to say the point of just imagine 40 years, 20 years of just experiencing. So when you ask me, that you just explained to me how it was for you, right? And then when you
yeah,
ask me, mine's going to be totally different from yours. And I may say milestones and ages and numbers at a different, mine could be like for broken up to 10 years. First 10 years, you grow. Next 10 years, you're an adolescent. Next 10 years from 20 to 30, you're like living on your own, like you said, looking back and like you're kind of an adult. And then by 30 to 40, you're like a grown adult, right? You should have
mhm,
learned from those mistakes and the things that you did between 20 and 30. So,
right,
but for me, it's I guess recently I've been looking at it in blocks of 20, and it's more complex than that. But I see it as like the first 18, 20 years. You're growing and you're learning, you're figuring out who you are, right?
hmm,
Um, so, and then by the time you get to 20 or so, you got an idea of who you are, but you're still learning. And then for me, it's like because I did 20 years in the military, that was another block. And there's a lot of experiences and things that I've grown and done. And I'm different now from where I was when I first, started or when I first joined. Right. So now I'm at the retired part and I'm looking at what's the next 20 years is going to look like. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
After that. And I'm excited for it.
yeah. That's good. No, that thing, it was just like in my mind, just like because I heard somebody, one of my nephew's friends was talking about it, and he was saying, it's like, hey man, I'm about to be 20, 21, going to club, I'm gonna get, a nice little apartment. I was like, man, I feel like I was doing that at like 15, going to club with a fake ID and you know, I would share a story, but like even when I went to a club, I mean, you were there, and most people when they're 21, they get in the club, right? They're going maybe to a bar, have a shot, like, hey, it's my first shot. I'm 21. I'm over here. How old do you think I was? Like 17, maybe at that time when I got in that club with
Yeah,
that
pretty much.
idea.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first thing I did when I got in?
Mm, went to the bar.
No. I was like, I'm in here. I sparked the blunt right in the club. I was like,
Hey,
man,
that's what was in
what
the
am I
music videos.
doing? That is true,
Belly and all that. Even though that was pre-belly.
bro. But I'm saying though, I'm like 17 with a fake ID in the middle of the club, spark a blunt. Didn't even go to the bar. I was like, nah, man. What I'm saying, I'm living it up. That's what I mean by from like 15 to 21. That should be your like, if you fall, mommy, daddy got you. I felt like I was doing the 25-year-old stuff, the 28-year-old stuff. Even one of my girl was 27. I was 19. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I
So
think I think part of that too is
it's
the environment you're in and the people that you were hanging out with, right? So
yeah,
like we were a little older, so you're going to be exposed and you're going to do things that you probably wouldn't if you were the older and then you're hanging out with 14-year-olds at 17.
true.
So that'll do it.
That night was so awesome. I'll say this, chat. That night was so awesome. I had a girl beg me to go home with her, which I did. I'm a gentleman. I did, and from the club to her apartment, it was literally 45 minutes. Best 45 minutes of my life, man. And I'll leave it at that.